Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to be exploring relationships. Let's get started with our vocabulary. A rate is a ratio that compares two quantities with different units. For example, if I earned $120 in 6 hours, the two quantities that I'm comparing are dollars and hours. A unit rate is a rate in which the comparison is 1 unit. Let's bring back that previous example. If I earned $120 in 6 hours, now I want to figure out how much money I could earn in 1 hour. The way that I can do this is I can divide $120 divided by 6 hours gives me $20 per 1 hour. A relationship is said to have a constant rate if the unit rate for all of the quantities is the same. In my table, we are comparing pounds of dog food and bags of dog food. I can tell that this is a constant rate because if I were to divide, 8 divided by 2 is 4, 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. So all of my values have the same unit rate. Let's try some guided practice. The table shows how many ounces of salsa you get when buying small jars of salsa. Describe a pattern you see in the rows of the table. So let's start with the jars of salsa. We are counting by 4, 8, 12, 16. So here I can describe my pattern as adding by 4s. In my ounces of salsa, I'm counting by 32, 64, 96. So I can describe this pattern as adding by 32. Now let's describe a pattern that we see in the columns of the table. So that means from top to bottom or from bottom to top. So I'm going to look from top to bottom and I'm going to try to see a relationship that all of these values have. Instead of using addition, now I'm going to look for multiplication. I can see that 4 times 8 is 32, 8 times 8 is 64, and 12 times 8 is 96. So here my pattern is to multiply by 8. Use your pattern to finish the table. I want you to pause this video and take a moment to try to fill it in yourself. When you are done, come back and let's compare your answers. So if we are completing the table, I'm going to use my pattern that we saw at the top. So to go from 16 jars to our next box, I'm going to add by 4. So 16 plus 4 is 20. On the bottom, I have my choice of what pattern I want to use. I'm going to use the pattern for ounces of salsa. So I'm going to add by 32. And I'm going to add by 32 once more. Can anyone think of another pattern that I could have used to fill in my table? Another pattern that I could have used would be my pattern from top to bottom. So to figure out this missing box, I could have done 20 times 8 equals 160, and I would get the same answer. Describe the unit rate between ounces and jars of salsa. So what that is saying is that we want to compare how many ounces are in 1 jar of salsa. And we have already figured out our unit rate when we were discussing the columns. So unit rate is what makes all of these patterns true and gives us a constant rate. in our table. So here 32 divided by 8 is 4, 64 divided by 8 is 8, and 96 divided by 8 is 12. So here I'm going to divide by 8. And I have figured out that there are 8 ounces in 1 jar of salsa. Another way of saying this is per jar. 8 ounces per jar. In our last example, the diagram shows how many ounces of salsa you get when buying medium jars of salsa. Describe the unit rate between the ounces and the jars of salsa. So again, I want to know how many ounces are in 1 jar of salsa. See if you can figure this problem out as well by pausing the video and coming back to compare your work. Since I know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 jars of salsa, I'm going to divide 48 divided by 4 jars of salsa. And I get an answer of 12. Let's see how we can make sense of our answer. If each jar of salsa weighs 12 ounces, then when I add these values up, I should get 48 ounces. And that's how I know that my value is correct. Let's write this as our answer statement. Since we solved and got a value of 12, that means that there are 12 ounces per jar. I hope that you found this video helpful. Please let me know if you have any further questions.